Color in my life has always been a thing. I remember being a young kid and growing up in the 80s and 90s and being really into shoes. And I think a lot of the shoes and clothing of that era were bright. And I think later in my life, I figured out maybe that was subliminally a reason why I'm such into bright colors, whether I found these things on skateboards or shoes. And then once I found old Porsches and realized there was an era of really bright colored Porsches, mainly from like 74 to 80, and then later in the 90s, I started to feel the same connection as I did when I was a kid. I'm Justin Roeser, and I like to look for rare colored Porsches. I have a fascination with the color Moonstone for some reason that's still unknown. I'm still trying to discover and identify for myself, but I feel most drawn to find cars in this color. Moonstone in Germany and other parts of the world, it's called Flieder, was a standard Porsche color, not paint to sample for 1979 and 80 on the product line. So the 930, the 924, the 928, and the 911 SC. It's like a light lavender, lilac color, and it's not metallic. Back in 2017, 2018, I saw a 930 Turbo online at Sloan Motors in Connecticut that was in this color called Moonstone. I'd never seen a color like that. It reminded me of growing up as a kid. I used to buy these Laffy Taffy candy bars, and it was like this very light purple color, and I just fell in love right away with the color. In 2018, I got to visit the Porsche archives to discuss colors, and I had a bunch of colors I really wanted to kind of learn the history about, and Moonstone was the top color. The next day I left after visiting them, and Frank Young is the head of the Porsche archives. He had sent me an email with a link to a 928 that was for sale in Germany that was in Moonstone. And at that time, I didn't know a lot about the 928. I knew that I was like all about 911s, and the 928 also had automatic transmission. And I was like, oh, got to shift. I'm a manual person. So I passed that car. I didn't get the car. The 928 was the only other car I had seen since the 930 in that color. So it opened a door to know that there's other cars out there that are in this color. Over the past couple years, I've kind of become a lot more professional in finding these cars, and I'm working with a lot of collectors or dealers. I wouldn't say I've mastered the art of importing, but I have a really good network, and I know how to have the cars inspected and handle the shipment and make it a lot easier of a process and not as terrifying for someone in the US to ship a car from overseas. And I learned this skill just by doing it on my own, finding my own cars and learning the process and doing it myself. After I'd started finding all these Moonstone cars, I really wanted to find the 928 that I had passed on. And so I started to do some research online again and try to find it. Just doing like a Google image search of Flieder 928, I found another 928 that was on display at the Porsche 2016 40th anniversary of the transaxle. And it wasn't till like a light bulb went off in my head to look at the license plate frame and see that it said RSR Motors on it. So I contacted RSR Motors and asked them if this is a car they service, if they know the owner. And they were really polite and said, sure, we do. Of course we do. But he probably won't want to talk to you. And I think that was the case for about 2 years.
I got to know from Rudy from RSR that someone had contacted him for this car. My name is Thomas Müller. I live in Nördlingen in Bavaria in Germany. And we have a Porsche 928 in the color of Flieder in our family since 1981. And we still keep it, love it, drive it forever. The car is a 79 car. And my father wanted a 928. At that time, I was 25 years old, so I could accompany him, and he asked, what do you think? And I said, yes, why not? Why not? 928 is a cool car. Back in 1981, Was 2 years old, and this description was very nice. And 2-year-old car, what shall be? And we went to Munich and saw the car. The car was completely white outside. Also, the rims were white. And then we looked at the car. Yes, very nice, with this leather interior, this brown leather interior. Very nice, very nice. Then we opened the bonnet and we saw inside different color. Flieder. My father looked at it, looked at me, looked at the owner and said, "I don't buy accident cars. Let's go." Well, then the owner said, "No, stop, 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 stop. Everything is okay. I tell you the story of the car. I bought this car in 1979 for a brochure. And I saw just a small piece of the color. You know, the color may differ, it says. And I liked this color with the brown interior, and I ordered it. I liked it, and I drove it. But in the first 2, 3, 4 weeks, all my friends said, "Oh, what is this? That's a girly car." So I thought about it, he said, and I let the new car, after 4 weeks, have going to the paint shop and paint it white, but only the outside. At that time in 81, Flieder was a complete strange color. And I said, "Okay, we buy it." My father drove it until he died in 2000. The car in 2000 had 80,000 kilometers only. We took it with 12,000, about that. And then the car was a little bit, well, a little bit rusty and things. The AC didn't work correctly. So I decided to let it restore.
The second Moonstone car I'd ever seen was the 928 that Porsche had sent me in 2018 that I, at this point in my life, felt stupid that I passed on the car. So I really wanted to find this car, and I started using old photos from the dealership. I contacted that dealership, and they're like, "Yeah, we sold the car." They wouldn't tell me where it was. But I started circulating photos to people I had met overseas doing other cars and bringing other cars over and workshops and service centers. And one of the service centers that I had sent the pictures to, it was like 20 minutes after I'd sent them photos, they sent me new photos of the car because they had been servicing this car, the one that I had missed out on. So eventually that workshop introduced me to the owner of the car, which we actually had a lot in common. We both really liked rare, colorful Porsches. And I had sent him the other Moonstone cars I had. We built a friendship, and he said, "If I ever sell this car, you're first in line." So in April of this year, finally the time had come and the owner was ready to part ways with the Moonstone 928. And yeah, I ended up picking up this car, and it's pretty surreal because all of these different connections I'd made along the way, like, just put this car back in my life. Meeting a mechanic that I had worked with, and that ended up being one of his best customers, and them opening the door for me to actually meet this person, probably through, the passion that I showed for this color, because it's, like, absolutely rare. No one has this color. The workshop that's worked on it, probably the only car they've ever serviced in this color. So they knew that I was seriously into it, and they did an amazing service to me to connect me to the owner. And through just being an enthusiast and being passionate about it, I have the opportunity to get the car, and now I'm the next caretaker. Just looking at the car 6 years ago and being like, now I'm driving this car. I don't know, it became so mythical to me as far as just finding it and just to see it in person. I don't think I've quite taken all of it in. And I think over the trip, obviously, I'll get to know the car more and start to go, wow, like pinch me moment. This is, my car now. I really don't know why I'm so like obsessed about it, but it just feels like I naturally want to get to the very bottom of what and why this color was created, because I literally feel now that this color is 40 years ahead of its time. No one wanted this color in when it came out in 79 and 80. And I really want this color, but I have people reaching out to me all the time. Hey, if you find another one, add me to the list. Or now Porsche came out with Moon Gem and they come out with Provence. All these colors that are now coming out. It's 40 years later. So it's just such a story to me. And I really want to get to the bottom of it.
Kam zu Firma Porsche 1976 ins Studio. Mein Name war Vlasta Roeser und irgendwann habe ich geheiratet und dann hieß ich natürlich Hatte. Aber seit 76 war ich im Studio beschäftigt. Wundervolle Zeit. Natürlich, man ist nicht Ingenieur, auch nicht Motormensch. Also wir träumen. Also wir haben immer Träume, man träumt. Ja gut, wir haben uns inspirieren lassen damals von dem Flieder, von der Farbe, weil das war damals im Mai und im Mai ist überall Flieder. Egal wo Sie hinfahren, da sehen Sie links und rechts, vorne, hinten Flieder. Das war Uni. Aber damals gab es noch Pigmenten, die heute nicht erlaubt sind. Und die haben diesen Effekt gemacht. Aber irgendwann war das Lackiererei irgendwie beendet und man hat Wasserlackierung. Und man konnte diese Pigmenten nicht mehr benutzen. Also wir haben schon von verschiedenen Firmen, das war Firma Lesonal und Firma BASF, haben wir verschiedene Muster natürlich gekriegt. Immer Nuancen, von lila bis zu dunkel, pink bis zu dunkel, schwarz bis zu hellgrau, so weiter. Und weil wir oft dort waren in den Firmen, dann haben wir uns verschiedene Muster mitgenommen und so weiter. Und die haben auch für uns Muster angefertigt. Und dann auf einmal, weil es war Frühling, schöne Wetter, und dann haben wir gedacht, oh, das ist tolle Farbe. Flieder hat 3 Farben und die helle. Ja, und dann haben wir ein Stück Flieder und die haben die Farbe angefertigt. Nach dem Flieder. Mehr Nuancen. Und dann haben wir halt eine ausgesucht, damals.
So the past owner of the 928 Moonstone car that I have, he went on some rallies with the car and he had met another gentleman that came up and said, oh, I have a 924 turbo in this color in my museum. So there's a museum out in Fichtelberg, just a small town in Bavaria, Germany, that has a 924 turbo in Flieder or Moonstone.
My name is Teresa Eckert, and we are standing here right in front of the Deutsches Fahrzeugmuseum Fichtelberg in Germany. And here we have a 924 Turbo Porsche in Flieder, Moonstone. The story of the car is really interesting. My father-in-law, he was called by a stranger who just informed him, I have this car and I want to get rid of it. So it was standing somewhere in the grass in a garden, and it was completely covered already with trees and grass and everything. So it was standing there for about 5 to 10 years already. So this was the only car in his entire time and the time of the museum where the car was just a gift. He did not have to pay anything for the car. So he drove there and the owner just said, yeah, I stored the key and the documents somewhere, you can find them and just take the car. So he actually never met the owner. He just drove there with a bus, and then it was very hard for him to get the car out because the car was really stuck in the grass and there was no air in the wheels, and of course you could not start it. So he thought, oh my god, this car is completely, how do you say it, not usable. And then he took it out with his bus and with some long stripes and get the car. And actually it was in a good condition. So, the seats inside, it looked a little bit like rotten, but it were easy to clean, so they can keep it. A lot of the car is still original, so the inside is original, the motor is still the original one, and there are only a few kilometers on it. We do not know a lot of the car before it went to Paris ownership, but yeah, it was the only gift he got. It's also on the people who are coming, because we have very different groups. Some people just want to look for the cars their grandparents were driving when they were young, and there are also children who are looking for the big trucks and everything. But I think those cars, they are special for people who know about it, who are into it, and who are more on the topic. So those who like the Porsche, who are aware that the color is very rare. I think this is more an expert car.
When we did the restoration, one of the first things were to do the paint job. And I did it here in Nördlingen in a friend's paint shop. And I always went there to see nearly every day. And then it lost its white. It was bare metal. And then when I saw it first in Flieder, I was completely impressed. And I was in love with that color from the first moment. Unfortunately, he didn't see it in this original color. He passed away before. He passed away in 2000. But maybe he sees it now. From above there.
I've been to car shows where I'll park a Moonstone car in some sun and most people walk by and think the color's white. And then maybe I'll talk to someone and meet them and they'll say, "Oh, what car did you drive here?" And I'll say, "Oh, I drove that light purple car." I didn't see a light purple car. And I've been to shows during the whole entire show where you might get there and the car's white, and as the day goes by and the light changes, all of a sudden it's a purple car.
Aber diese Farbe, diese Flieder, ja, das war schon besonders. Das war an der Sonne anderes, an Sonne, die Schatten, Morgen, Abend, je nach Licht.
Nowadays, this color, most people say, wow. But, you know, the color differs in light. Sometimes when it's bright, it's almost white. And if it gets darker, it gets really purple, or as you say in the US, moonstone. And the impression is for the people. I had the experience. Some people say, "Did you paint the car? Last time it was white. Now it's Flieder." I said, "No. That's the way the color looks in different lights." But most people say, "Wow." Nowadays.
Wow, it's beautiful. It's very nice. It's rare. For me, it looks a little bit like a cupcake. That's pretty.
Moonstone isn't common in Europe, in Germany. It's just called Flieder. You know, Flieder is a flower. Yes, never heard of Moonstone before. In the meantime, when I have contact with Justin, I got to know it, that it's called Moonstone. But I think only in America.
Also wir haben im Studio, dürfen wir immer für die alle Farben Name aussuchen. Wir haben zum Beispiel 10 Vorschläge für die Namen. Dann hat das Vertriebe bekommen, Ludwigsburg, und die haben aussortiert, weil das musste man übersetzen. Englisch, Französisch, Italienisch, Spanisch. Und nicht alle Sachen sind zu übersetzen. Okay, Lilac, okay. Aber man hat gedacht, diese Moonstone klingt ein bisschen vornehm, besonders. Ja, irgendwie ein Stein, wunderschöner Stein, ist wertvoll, ist viel wertvoller wie Flieder. So haben die das damals genannt, die Farbe.
I've never seen another Flieder car, not only 928, another Flieder car in my life before I saw yours.
Until today, I've never seen any other car in this color.
Wissen Sie noch, wann Sie das letzte Mal ein Auto in der Fliederfarbe gesehen haben?
Heute.
Oh yeah, today.
Yeah,
So
today.
today.
Yeah, but before today.
Wirklich, today. Ich habe die ganze Jahre nie ein Fliederauto gesehen.
She didn't see a Flieder car all the years.
Yeah.
Nie.
Not never.
Yeah.
Ich meine in Stuttgart oder so, oder wo ich war. Nie einmal.
In Stuttgart, never.
Yeah.
Oder auch egal wo. Ich habe es nie
Or where
gesehen.
she
Ich habe wirklich nie
she never
gesehen.
saw.
So when Moonstone came out, I think it was a complete failure. There was no one that really ordered the color. I mean, at least from the cars that I found over, I've only searched for 5 or 6 years, but like 40 years of history, very few cars have come up. And people I've talked to that have been around, when these cars were new, someone has a story that they saw one in the showroom and it was heavily discounted for someone to buy it because no one wanted to buy a light purple lilac Porsche.
Ist Folgendes. Die Farbe war nicht verstanden damals. Und unsere Vertrieb, die Auto verkaufen, die waren damit nicht glücklich. Aber Herr Professor hat einen Fuhrmann. Und dann kam der ins Studio rein mit dem Auto, steigt er aus und der Herr Lapin fragt ihn, Herr Professor, wie gefällt Ihnen das Auto? Und er sagt, Herr Lapin, soll ich mir dazu die Fingernägel lackieren? Unser Chef, Herr Lapin, hat auch was zu sagen. Die haben gesagt, ja, wir können vielleicht nur 0,3% verkaufen. Und da sagte Herr Lapin, na und? Da verkaufen Sie die anderen Farben besser. Aber es war ein Problem, die Händler, die haben die Farbe nicht präsentiert. In dem Showroom war keine Lila, ja. Das heißt, es war nicht so verbreitet, dass die Kunden haben es nie gesehen.
So meeting Velasta was amazing to me because I worked so long to try to find out, who was behind this color. And there was a moment when she was showing me, pictures of other things that she had done for Porsche through her 30 plus year career. And she had come to a lilac bush and a lilac plant, and she just kind of looked at me and she's like, and this is the inspiration. And at that moment, like I literally had to take a break. I was really touched, it really moved me because I kind of felt that was actually what the story was behind the color. Like I had some sort of premonition that was it. People would talk to me like, oh, maybe it's a mistake that someone dumped some purple and white. But I felt like absolutely connected to her and we were both in sync. And I mean, I don't know why I'm, so into this color that it, can make me cry. But I guess it's just, when you find something that you're so passionate about that you keep working on and you keep digging and digging and digging, and then you finally get to what you think is the bottom of it, and you're actually sitting there with the person that, back in the mid-70s created this color, and they're making time for you to talk to you. That's what Porsche is. I've seen that in so many things with Porsche, getting into the archives or even meeting the CEOs and all of the people, they are all absolutely car people. And I feel like I've never seen any other manufacturer that's like, come on in, let's show you the history of us. I don't know if that's because they're so proud, they want to share it with everybody, but it was amazing. And I'm over the moon. I'm so touched that I got to spend some time with her.